Well, good morning, it's Sunday and welcome back to the shop. So, as I mentioned earlier, I put the carpeting in and it really does go quite a distance up underneath the dashboard. And the reason you know that is because I put the rear carpet in and there's absolutely overlap between the two. There's about 2 or 3 inches of carpet overlap. And then in the back you can see that the carpet comes all the way to the seat clips. Now those seat clips obviously are where the back of the seat or the middle of the seat connects, which means we've absolutely got coverage over the carpet when it comes to the rear seat. So we've got plenty of carpet in this car. It also goes from rocker to rocker, side to side. Before we get started, let's open the door. As soon as I open the door, you can see the interior lights came on, as well as the fog lights. You can see the fog lights are on. Now I'm going to close the door. Remember though, we have a 30-second delay on this car, which means, let's say I'm parking it, I'm getting out of the car. As soon as I close the door to leave the car, which I just did, I've got 30 seconds. It keeps the interiors on, and it also keeps those fog lights on in case it's night and I'm trying to get away and walk away. And then they go out. So like I said, so the timing circuits are all on it. Now let me show you what I did under the dash, and then we're gonna get onto that windshield. So starting from the front, obviously the e-brake is now connected onto the car. At the same time, I also put in the driver's vent. Now, of course, I cleaned this all up, so it's working beautifully smoothly. But what we have is I put the vent in. Now, you know, part of the air conditioning is that we're supposed to remove the vents. In fact, I had to delete the vent on the passenger side because of the air conditioning unit. But I still wanted the ability that if it's a beautiful day, that we can put the roof down, the windows are down, and we can get some ventilation into the car. Now, you can also see that the pedal is in place for the washer wiper, so that's in place as well. And also I put in the high-low beam switch. Now, I didn't bother putting the black grommet around it. I could easily do it, but I didn't like the look of it, actually. You know, I placed that black grommet over, it really kind of just stuck out. I figured this way here, we'll just blend it in. So if we move over to the other side of the dash here now, of course, we can see we have the fog light switch and we have the top controllers right here. So everything we wanted to put in as far as under the dash is now put in. Obviously, the radio still needs to go in. I've still got to put the ashtray in and the kick panels. Now, the kick panels, as you know, are going to have integrated speakers. Now, because I had put the dog bowls, and I'm not joking, what I had done is I'd cut a hole in the side here, and I put some stainless steel bowls on the outside of the car, screwed them to the car, and of course then put the seam sealer on it. And this gives the ability now for that speaker to recess and be flush with the kick panel. So this pedal is not going to get in the way. There are some interference issues. If you are going to go with the kick panels that have the speakers built in, they pull the speakers actually quite a bit out because they don't have the clearance that I have. So my speakers are going to be flush with the kick. This won't get in the way, so we'll be good there. So, but that's going to be near the end because, again, I don't want to put all this together and then find out I have to pull the carpet out for some reason. So like I said, kicks will be later. So we've got all of this tied down. Everything is working the way we want. Our lights are working. So let's go get that windshield. All right, before we get started, just to show you the package, right? So the 3M strip caulk, there's the part number for it. And basically, it really is just like string cheese. And you can pull this apart and you've got, and it's really tacky. So this is really good. We'll be able to put this inside of the seams. And then that way there, it's not going to be as much of a mess as the other stuff. So let's take a look at this glass. All right, so now that I have the glass laid back out, I have some mixed emotions. Now, what are those mixed emotions? Is I can't find any indication that this is the original auto glass and the Autolite. And in all honesty, that might be good news, because if this was the original glass, it would have 50 years of wear and tear and wiper marks on it. So this was replaced. Now, when it was replaced, I don't know, but it was replaced with a really high quality glass because the thickness of this glass is the same as the original equipment. And I know that some complaints by other people have been that they bought recent remanufactured glass and it was thinner. It wasn't as thick. So the seal doesn't adhere or it doesn't grab as good as the thicker glass. So mixed emotions, it's not an original piece of glass. But after looking at it again, and it's still dirty, but after looking at it again, This glass is in good shape. I don't see any real chips on it. And so, but the only way we're really going to tell is we're going to need to clean this like we've never cleaned glass before. Okay, so I've cleaned the glass the best I can. So first off, I layered spray 9 on it and wiped most of the surface crap off with a shop towel. Then I used the spray 9 one more time, and I used my 000 steel wool in order to make sure we get most of the grime off. After that, I came back with my hands, because you can really feel if there's anything on the glass with your fingertips. Those, I used a razor blade just to kind of cut them off, right? So that took those off of this. And then I came back with, obviously, my cleaners, and I cleaned the glass. Now, after cleaning the glass in that regard, when I look through the glass, do I see a few imperfections? I do. There's a couple of stone chips. Now, very small stone chips, but there are a couple of stone chips. Now, how do I see that? Well, what I do is I take the masking paper that I use for masking the car off for painting. That gives me a sharp white contrast under the glass. So as I sit here with a raking light, I can see through the glass right onto the paper, and I can immediately see any defects, like a piece of crap that's left behind or a small blemish on the glass. What I do see is I see a very fine wiper mark on the glass. Now that is going to happen because this car was driven, and of course the wipers go back and forth, they've got grit on them, and they will put micro scratches in the glass. I'm going to try to polish those out. I'm going to go get some glass polish, and I'm going to use my orbital, and we're going to just try to see if we can just lightly buff that and see if we can get some of that scratching out. Again, it's nothing major. It's something that I'm going to get myself. So can I justify getting a piece of glass shipped up here to Canada, and the expense of that and the risk of that, to put in a piece of glass that within 3 months is going to look like this anyways, right? Because this is a driver, remember that. This car is going to be going all over the United States and Canada. So it's going to get chips, it's going to get scratches. So I can't justify it. Hey, just a little tip that I found. Remember, I'm not going to video everything because basically there's about 30 videos out there putting a windshield in, so I don't need to repeat those. But one of the things I've personally found that worked for me is I put one corner in and stretched the seal, put the next corner in, and then I took the seal and I stretched it and I put these two corners in, leaving this where they're not in the glass. The reasoning is, if I put these corners in and then I work my way this way without pulling enough, I'll end up short on this side. It just won't go on. So by stretching it out this way and leaving this undone, now this is stretched, I just got to come back now and obviously put that into its channel. So that'll be something I can just do real quickly. Now, obviously, as we all know, right, this gasket goes on only one way. The inside of the glass, which is this way, this is the inside, there's a flange which is going to lock onto the car. And like I said, so you have to make sure you do that right. But again, there's a lot of videos out there for that. But I found this worked for me, so I'm just going to finish putting the seal on and we'll get it in the car. So the great news is the windshield's in. Bad news, it didn't record. I didn't even notice. I mean, I was so heads down into putting this thing in, I didn't even look up at the camera, so my apologies. But as I mentioned earlier, there's dozens of videos. You just go on the internet, search for 68 Mustang installation window, even Cougars, they're all the same. What I will tell you though is what's a little different. Number one, if you have a convertible, you won the lottery when it comes to putting a windshield in, because you literally walk into the car with the windshield, lower it over the front, and you can pretty well put that front lip into the windshield frame by just pushing it in, because you're on the inside, you can see it. The other thing is that if you are going to put your windshield in, I would recommend one of these. And I mean, it's just a simple installation kit that I got from CJ Pony Parts, but this curved tool where the installation rope is through the tool, you literally just put this into the rubber gasket and then just run your arm along, and this part here is being metal, is just, you keep that in the channel and it embeds the line automatically. I mean, it took me 30 seconds to run this around the windshield and embed it. So I would recommend that. Obviously, I also installed the bright work clips. So all of the clips are in already. I mean, you can still get them in if you wanted to, but a lot easier when the windshield's not in. So the clips were in, put the windshield in. I was able to then use the ropes to get the flange to pop over. I pulled about 6 inches of it here originally, and then I didn't pull any more. The reasoning is once I had a little bit around the windshield frame, I lowered the glass back to center it. I wanted to make sure that this corner and that corner had exactly the same amount of reveal. Once you do that, because the windshield can still move left and right when you only have about 6 inches of it in the channel. Once you've done that, and you centered it, literally just pulling the rope, but this is where it gets hard on the fingers. When you're pulling that rope, you're also then pushing down on the rubber. You're trying to get that flange as deep as you can into that windshield, around the windshield perimeter. So it's hard on the hands because you're just fighting rubber. You're pushing the rubber down, you're pushing the rubber up. You're trying to almost rotate the rubber. You want this rubber to be pushed up, you want this rubber to be pulled back, and you literally can go around the windshield and do that 2 or 3 times. And then now I've embedded the windshield in, so this is exactly what I want. Being a convertible, it's so easy because I can do it like here. You wouldn't be able to do that by yourself if this was a hardtop. So like I said, really easy to put in. I'm really happy with it. So I am going to use obviously the caulking now, and the caulking does seal. You're supposed to seal it between the glass and the rubber, and you're also supposed to seal it up in here. Now being a convertible, my chrome strip goes right down to here and covers this up really well. But I'm still going to put a bead in here just to make sure I don't get any water penetration around the back, although I shouldn't because again the seal has that strip caulking in it. So I'm going to do all of that, get that done. Now the trick I talked about earlier as well, I saw on the internet. What they did is, this tube is really flimsy, it bends easy. What they did is they took a sheet of aluminum, wrapped it around this, taped it so that the aluminum was giving support to this easily movable thing, and then they cut the tip on that, and because the aluminum is there, they were able to take this and pretty well like really dig it in there. See how it's bending on me already? If the aluminum is, if there's a piece here holding it, that stops it from bending, and I can really put some pressure in there and drag it along inside that channel and put a bead in. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a piece of my scrap aluminum, wrap it around it, just tape it on, or even zip tie. You could probably do it. All you're trying to do is get it so this doesn't do that. This is what I ended up doing. I took a piece of metal, wrapped it around the entire caulking gun, right? So, and then just taped it on. But that piece of metal with the hole cut into it, and then of course put the nozzle through it, that nozzle now is like a piece of steel. I could put this in and literally just pull the gun, and this doesn't bend, it doesn't break off, and I can put as much pressure as I want on it. And it of course went right into the channel and literally just grabbed it and pulled it along while I was pulling the trigger. Did a great job. We have the sealant all the way around the window. In fact, when I pressed the rubber back up, because of course this kind of moved the rubber away, I pressed the rubber back up, you could see some of the sealant popping up on the inside of the glass. So it actually went down, and as I squeezed it up, it actually started coming up inside. Now you can't see that because it's right on the edge, but basically it proves that this put sealant all the way around the glass, all the way around the seal. It's perfect. And then we can put the caulking on. Once the caulking's in, we'll just let it set up, and then we can do the bright work later. There's no rush on it, but like I said, I'm happy with that. Sorry it didn't record, but the windshield's in. Okay, so what's next? Well, once I caulk the window, and again, I'm not going to record that. I'm just going to be running a bead of caulk inside of the channel. Once I caulk the windshield, I'm then going to clean my bright work. So we're going to polish all the stainless steel that goes around this window, and then we can install the stainless steel. Once the stainless is installed and everything is sealed up, then what I can do is I can then put the A-pillars back in. I can put the clips back on, which hold the sun visors as well as the roof. Once that's done, we can put the roof on this car. Now, putting the roof on is a big step because we have a brand new rear glass that has to go in. So that has to all be done, and I need to have obviously the roof on the car. But the key I've read is not to have it fully engaged, have it really close. That way there, when I do put the rear parts in and I tie them all in, that last little bit that it comes over and locks in will then do that final stretch to keep that rear window straight. But like I said, that's another day. I'm going to do some caulking today, and that'll be it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. and I will be back with the brake work. I'll see you then.